Hi, my name is Erica, and today I'm going to go over my project, The Stanford Prison Experiment and the Torment of Job. The Stanford Prison Experiment was conducted back in 1971 at Stanford University. It was conducted by a man named Professor Philip Zimbardo. Now, this experiment had included 24 male college students who had volunteered to participate for extra cash. The questions Zimbardo wanted to answer were, what happens when you put people in an evil place, and will they rise above it? The makeshift prison that Zimbardo had put together was located in a campus basement, which had included cells and even an isolation room called the Hole. It was unclear at first how this experiment would go, but by the second day, Zimbardo had started to realize that these young college men were starting to become their roles as guard and prisoner. The so-called guards became tougher, and the prisoners actually started to rebel against their status, even though this was all just an experiment. Now, the Torment of Job is a biblical story. This story is around the timeline of after the big flood. Job was a man of God and a very devoted follower, and he had everything, a large family, wealth, and many blessings. He had it all. There was an argument between God and Satan, with God bragging about how amazing Job is, and had made a bet with Satan that Job would never betray him no matter what happened to him. So Satan went ahead and had taken everything from Job. His riches, his animals, his wife, and even his children. Satan had taken everything from Job, but Job never stopped worshiping God and never gave up his faith. Now, the question here is, what is the comparison of their outcomes? How do we compare their results? Well, in the Stanford Prison Experiment, which was a behavioral experiment, by the way, the college students who were either the prisoner or the guard began losing their sense of reality and started to believe in their role. They truly believed that they were the guard or they were the prisoner. There was even a man named Doug who went to Zimbardo asking to leave, but off in the distance he could hear the other prisoners chanting that he was a bad prisoner. It had made him so distraught that Zimbardo had to bring him back to reality and remind him who he really was, that he wasn't just a number, and that this was all just an experiment. Now, instances like these are what led the experiment to end almost a week early. Now, the torment of Job began with a bet between God and Satan over the devotion that Job had for God. In this story, Job had lost everything and was left with only his faith and love for God. Even with all of the bad things going on, he had never betrayed his faith and in the end was rewarded with new blessings, including a wife and many children. Moving on to the consequences of each scenario, in the Stanford Prison Experiment, the men started to take their roles too seriously and eventually it started turning into aggression and almost led to a rebellion. The men were falling apart and losing themselves, all because of their belief in their role. As for the torment of Job, Job had lost everything and was broken down to almost nothing, losing everything that he had once loved, although in this case he was rewarded for his devotion, unlike the college students. What I have learned about human behavior from both of these scenarios is that the human mind is very fragile. For the college students, it was so easy for their beliefs to be altered from what was real and what wasn't. Unfortunately, these young men were sucked into the experiment and did believe that they were trapped in a prison. For example, one man went to ask to leave and went and told everybody else that they couldn't, that they weren't allowed to leave, even though that wasn't the case. As for Job, it really showed me how far a person's faith can go. No matter how low or how high we get in life, God is always there for us, no matter what. How can our faith guide our morality? I believe that our faith can help us distinguish right from wrong and can help us make smarter decisions. I also believe that our faith gives us standards to live by, such as not having premarital sex or lying. It's a great thing to have faith be our guide because I believe that it makes us better people. It allows us to focus on the good in life and not allow those extra negative forces into our lives. To conclude this assignment, I do believe that if faith was somehow included or involved in the experiment, that the results would have been different. I believe that the men might have been able to hold out longer and hold on to who they really were. I don't think things would have progressed so rapidly if faith was involved. They probably would have had the strength to get through the 2-week-long experiment. And I also don't feel that there wouldn't have been such aggression and such anger if there was faith involved somehow. I believe if it was, faith would have given the prisoners or the guards some sort of outlet to direct some of that frustrated energy or the confusion that they all had, to kind of bring them back to reality and say, hey, this is just an experiment. This is not your real life.